I was fuming when I received a letter from Susan Atkins, a member of the notorious Manson family, sending me a letter siding with some victims' rights guy in Texas and the mayor of Houston, this guy, and the mayor of Houston, Texas, against me. But what I discovered later that day made my blood boil. She was trolling me online, on her website. Yeah, you heard me right. Susan Atkins, the killer of Sharon Tate, had her own website while she was in state prison, and she was trolling me on it. And we're going to talk about that today on Let's take a look at this letter. It's from the city of Houston. Lee P. Brown was the mayor. It's January the 23rd, 2001, back 22 years ago. It's to Susan Atkins at California State Prison in Chino. And it starts off, Dear Susan, hi, you might remember, I wrote you earlier about my concerns of dealers selling items bearing your name. I appreciate your response about the concerns over such sales being conducted without your approval. Let's stop right there. First off, if I sign my autograph and I give it to you, it now belongs to you. You can sell it for every 20 cents you can get out of it. Let's go on. I also appreciate your sincerity in wanting to assist me stopping the trafficking of these items. Don't you like it how they make it sound like we're dealing dope here when it's basically little Susan Atkins autographs? Just to let you know, the state of Texas will be sponsoring legislation to prevent dealers from profiting from the sale of your items. Well, since she's in California and Texas, I don't know what the hell that matters. But anyway, and it didn't matter. It didn't make a difference. In order to further our cause, ABC's 2020, oh crap, we'll be doing a story on this issue. I can just imagine my face coming up on, which it had before, it wouldn't have been the first time, coming up on television about some Charles Manson story that they didn't ask me about, that they would just go to. So they're playing the same game here, what they're, and imagine sitting there, seeing yourself pop up, hey, Charles Manson, and you have a job. People at your work don't know that. Anyway, let's move on. In order to further our cause, ABC's 2020 will be doing a story on this issue, and I am again requesting your assistance. The producers have indicated a desire to interview you about the sale of items from dealers. The interview will be strictly about the fact that items are being sold without your authorization, make you look like, oh, she's the good killer. What the hell? It's very important that the public knows that you're not profiting from these. What? Who cares? Why is it important for the public to know? It's only important for the families to know. If she owes the family some money, then they can get their cut. Besides, that's nobody's business. So I get this letter from her, and it kind of made me mad a bit. It kind of offended me a bit. Like morally, it's like, what? Anyway, then I get on the internet. Back then, the internet was a little different. Still had web pages. And I was a member of her webpage. I get on her webpage, and what's she doing? She's trolling me on there about the same thing. So let's take a look at that. This is an actual screenshot of her webpage back that day that I was so upset. Anyway, it goes on to say, Susan always received an incredible amount of mail, but in the early 1990s, she was informed that people were writing her in order to sell her reply letters on the internet. This upset Susan because it was disrespectful of the victims of her crimes and insensitive to their families. Beyond that, it made it harder for Susan to help people who really needed help, as autograph collectors would write her with fictional problems hoping to elicit a response. If you really want to read this whole thing, you can slow this thing down and replay it, but you'll notice when it scrolls to the bottom of the letter, or the bottom of the post, you'll see a letter pop up, and it's, Dear Michael. She was literally calling me out this day, but she did send me the first newsletter. So I guess if Susan can really blame me for anything, Because she used to write handwritten letters to people. She'd draw pictures for you. She'd send cards. She'd do all that stuff until she got married to this James guy. I think he was a bit jealous. But anyway, she would do all that stuff. And she knew that I was an autograph collector already because I sent her the newspaper articles of it. I told all these people that I was an autograph collector. Basically, sign me a really good autograph because I collect these things. You know, so I wasn't hiding anything from her. Susan couldn't really blame me for anything. I didn't do anything wrong. Collectors now, they could really blame me because I was now the main reason that Susan Atkins wasn't going to write them handwritten letters anymore. They were now all Christian newsletters. And I got the very first one. And those things were so boring that it wasn't long now I quit writing her. I quit writing her and then she dropped me from that Christian newsletter list. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna write her again. So I wrote her back and I'm like, hey, Susan, I'm that crazy collector, man. Why'd you drop me from the list? She wrote me back. She wrote me a handwritten letter on the newsletter too, actually. Let's look at that, see what she says. P.S. Sorry you were accidentally dropped from the list. Yeah, my ass, I was accidentally dropped. I don't sign book placements. Okay, I got it already. It's more important that you pay attention to the word and obey it. Oh, okay. All right, Charlie. God and his name is written in your heart. Okay, cool. Thanks, Susan. Susan Atkins wasn't the only Manson family member that had a website. Charlie Manson had one first. I think Charles Manson was probably the first inmate to ever have a website. It was called Atwood.com, and it was even run by another family member, Sandra Good. Manson was so devoted to this website, he even mentioned it once during a parole hearing. It's like, hey man, I gotta get back to my website.
You know, you make me to be all the bad guys. That's okay, that's the game you're playing with Hollywood. I'm not good or bad. I'm just that guy that does what I have to do. You know who I am. You know me, it's the chain of command. Section 8.
You think you're suitable for parole?
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I got too many problems, and I'm doing too many things. I'm really involved in a lot of things. I've got a website that I'm working on,
okay.
And I have a lot of other ecology trips that I'm trying to put into play. I've been given a lot of influence, so I'm trying to use it in a positive perspective. I've got some helpers.
But nowadays, you can only find Susan and Manson's websites on the Wayback Machine, if the Wayback Machine even exists because of copyright issues these days. But Charles Watson, the serial killer in the Manson family, the one that stabbed like 9,000 times, he still has a website. You can look at it today. You can go to it today. It's called Abundant Love Ministries. He preaches Jesus on there. He's a preacher. He had it at one point. He had his own office. He had the rule of the prison. But yeah, if you want to find the Lord and you want to find it through a serial killer, check Tex out. He's still got his website up there. As a collector of autographs since I was 10 years old, I've been pen pals with many members of the Manson family over the years. This started with my fascination with the crimes they committed, of course, but it soon became about curiosity and getting to know them as human beings. I've exchanged letters with Bruce Davis, Charles Manson, Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Dennis Rice, Kenneth Como, Lynette Fromm, and many others. But people assume that just because I wrote to these convicted killers, I somehow condone their actions, which couldn't be further from the truth. Susan Atkins' online trolling only served me as a stark reminder that she never stopped judging others and assuming this sort of moral superiority that she had. It also highlights the importance of being mindful on how our actions can impact others, especially when we have a platform to reach a large audience like Susan did. The hobby of collecting autographs from convicted killers may be controversial, but it doesn't automatically make someone a bad person. What matters most is how we treat others and how we use our knowledge and experiences as we delve into the complex world of true crime. We must approach these stories with empathy, curiosity, and an open mind. However, we must not forget that the crimes we discuss involve real people with real feelings, and we always must keep that in mind. Isn't it ironic that empathy for others that Susan preached, she didn't practice? Otherwise, I would have never known who she was to get her autograph in the first place. I'm Michael. This is the Backporch Tapes at Michael's Back Porch. And until next time, we come back to creepy crawl, helter skelter some more. Stay safe, stay kind, and peace.